Honey Badger Silver has wrapped up their exploration at two key projects in Canada's north, Plata in Yukon, which is 30 kilometers from Snowline Gold's Rogue discovery, and Nanisivik in Nunavut, a past producer of over 20 million ounces of silver. The executive chairman, Chad Williams, is here to help us zoom in closer. Chad, let's start with Plata. What were your main goals here at this project this season, and what have you accomplished?
Okay, so this season, we wanted to get a general feel for what the potential of the property is. In other words, 10,000 foot level. And we only acquired this property a few years ago, so we're relatively new to it. And, given its seasonality, given its remoteness, we don't have a lot of time on the ground. But this year, what we wanted to do is go over cover a lot of ground, take some samples from lots of different areas, and get a sense for what the project entails.
And when we read about the Canela Zone, which was released to the market not too long ago, it's a new discovery, new sheeted veins. What do discoveries like this mean for the system's scale?
Okay, so they're two different things. Sheeted veins, it's a different kind of geology, and it's the host of very large gold deposits in many places in the world, but notably in the Yukon and the Western Cordillera. And it's something that was known but not really recognized in the past. Okay, these big sheeted vein systems tend to host very, very large gold deposits, albeit at somewhat lower grade. Now, what we are finding at Plata is sheeted vein systems. However, we're also finding very high grades of silver and other minerals not in sheeted vein systems. So a different kind of mineralogy or geology, if you will. That's the thing about Plata that I find very, very remarkable, is that first of all, the property is large, and second of all, there are many different types of geologic environments. And so if you want to use the poker analogy, we have many different hands to win. Okay, we don't have one hand, we've got many different kinds of hands. As I said, we've got the sheeted vein systems, plus also the high-grade silver, more base metal-rich systems.
Now, aside from the poker hands you've got it here, what makes Plata prospective for a similar discovery? Because you compare yourself to Snowline's Rogue discovery.
Yes.
Why? Why is it a similar discovery potentially?
Okay. First of all, they're next to each other, so they're close in terms of proximity. And second of all, we have found these sheeted vein systems. We are waiting for assays in terms of determining what's in these systems. So we have similar geology. That being said, and really, there's a cliche in mining that the best place to find a mineral deposit is in the shadow of a head frame. Snowline doesn't have a head frame because they aren't mining yet, but they will be a mine. So I guess we can change the cliche and say, we're looking for a mine in the shadow of a future head frame, of a future mine. There's no doubt that the area is prospective. I think the Yukon in general is amazing. I think the whole area, not just our area, but the Yukon in general, there will be many, many more mines found. And it's, like I said, it's early days, but we have all the right stuff.
Can you walk us through what's next here for Plata as we head into 2026?
Okay, it's very simple. We will analyze all of this work that we've done in the last couple of months in summer and early September, and that will take some time. We've got lots of assays, lots of results. We're finding some very interesting things we weren't expecting, and undoubtedly things that we were hoping for and aren't going to get. That's exploration. There's pluses and some minuses. The bottom line is we need to analyze this information and plan for drilling in the spring as soon as we can. We raised some money not that long ago, so we have sufficient funds to do a lot more work at Plata. And we look forward to doing that as soon as we can, really.
Now, other than Plata, we've got Nanisivik. This is a project in Nunavut, and it's produced over 20 million ounces of silver historically. Can you talk to us about what's left and why it matters now?
Well, first of all, so we have 7 projects. Of course, we talked about Plata, and Nanisivik is another one. There are 5 more behind that, but we did some work at Nanisivik as well recently, and we're awaiting those assays and those results. We did some geophysical work and some surface sampling, and we're awaiting those results. But based on those results, we'll determine what to do next there as well. You know, exploration is quite systematic. You know, you look at it at a large scale with very rough sampling, if you will, and once you find a zone, then you do some geology and you drill it, and hopefully you find an economic mineral deposit. So the point I'm trying to make is that these steps are well known, and we're not trying to do anything different here. We're very systematic. Uh, we need to use investor money very frugally and do the right things to make sure that we create value for our shareholders. Nanisivik was a mine. They stopped mining not because they ran out of reserves, but only because the zinc price was very low at the time. That was many years ago. In fact, there were reserves left, and we think that the people that were mining were actually excellent. Okay, but again, typical in mining, what happened is they found the original mineral deposit in the 60s, the early 60s, and they drilled it off, and then they immediately started to want to mine it. And once you get into mining, you stop getting into the exploration mindset. You're focused on day-to-day mining, because it's a tough business, mining. And so they shut it down, and they never really focused on finding more reserves, on expanding it. And so our thesis is that there is a vast amount of mineral potential there. My personal belief is that the original mine is only one of many ore bodies that will be found in this area. I need to prove that thesis, or we need to prove that thesis to see if I'm right. But uh, it's a big system. It's underexplored. It's very rich for minerals like we do today. Uh, you know, Elements like germanium and gallium and things like that. And so we're going to reassay some of the old rocks and reevaluate some of the old data with the light of developing the critical mineral potential of what may be some big deposits to be found.
So surveys pinpointed underground targets. You physically discovered silver zinc mineralization at a new zone called Area 14. What does that tell you about the potential size here of the system?
Well, the first thing is that the original Nanisivik ore body was, and of course still is, because there are parts of it left, very shallow. It's less than 100 meters from surface in some areas. And so the good part about that is it makes exploration relatively simple. In other words, we can use geophysics, and drilling will be relatively inexpensive because we don't have to drill deep holes. Where the ultimate joy for us, if and when we find another ore body, I can't tell you at this stage where that will be, or even if it will be, but that's why we're doing all this work, and we're looking forward to drilling very soon, as soon as we possibly can, depending on permits and, again, seasonality, because it is relatively remote. So the other thing too that I haven't mentioned yet is there actually is an ore body that remains. They never mined it. It's a pyrite ore body. It's about 100 million tons. And in those days, pyrite wasn't very valuable because the demand for sulfuric acid wasn't very high. Right now, there's a big problem. There's a global shortage of sulfuric acid, and this pyrite ore body may turn out to be extremely valuable. It also, I mean, oddly enough, the reason we bought Nanisivik, or actually staked it to be more accurate in the first place several years ago, was because of the silver content in this known pyrite ore body. So we're going to be doing some work to see, if this is economic to mine, what other metals may be contained in it. And that is already there. We don't have to find it. It's just sitting there, okay? But to be clear, we are looking for additional mineralization, more similar to what was mined historically at that mine.
Well, as we end the interview here, I just want to take a moment to leave your exploration assets aside and sort of go and maybe give us a teaser about how you're building a silver investment vehicle through Honey Badger. And I know we'll take that fuller conversation on in another interview, but before we go, can you talk to us about beyond Plata, Nanisivik, and your other projects? Why else should investors think of Honey Badger as a junior to kind of look out for, especially as we head into the new year?
Sure. What we have created and are in the process of embellishing in the sense that we are growing and adding value to is a very different investment vehicle. We have three aspects to our story. Number one, we have ounces in the ground. We've got projects like Sunrise and Clear Lake. And Yava, they already have resources in the ground. They're known. Okay. Number two, we have assets that we can add value to relatively easily through exploration. We talked about Plata. We talked about Nanisivik. Those are two. And as I said earlier, we have 7 assets. What we don't have is silver cash flow. And that's important because we want to give our investors maximum exposure to silver and silver growth as the silver price rises. Our belief at Honey Badger is that the price of silver will go well over $100. So how investors will make money is they will have exposure to physical silver, silver cash flow, and we're working on that. Ounces of the ground, which we have, and then exploration, which we talked about.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chad, we'll dive deeper into the silver cash flow part of your story in another one. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Rachel.